Another day, another annoying reality. I swear I've done this intro like thousands of times. Maybe I haven't, I don't know. God, I sort of brought to the attention again of a topic. Because social media is like brain now. It's pretty much everywhere. But more sort of sadly, it's like people just don't give a shit anymore and have started using really damaging tactics to essentially justify the wrong positions. If people did this with the far right, and they're doing it now with, say, left-leaning people. Um, yeah, like the first topic I got reminded of is the vegan kids topic, and uh, yeah, and the main concern with this is really the fact that people just assert things without evidence, and that's always going to be flawed because no evidence is essentially no argument. And the danger of spreading this is it is literally misinformation, and in some cases disinformation. Um, it's extremely damaging. There's no doubt about it. Um, and I just hate the fact that sort of misinformation exists like anywhere in the world. So people are commenting that feeding, was it a child a vegan diet, vegan lifestyle even, it's not damaging them, and there's a lack of evidence for this, as there usually is anyway. Um, and like what the evidence actually says is that it's healthier for children. There's been studies on this, and they can definitely get every single nutrient they need and be healthier on a vegan diet. But what people are saying in the comments is again damaging, and they're basically saying things like, it's unhealthy to feed your kids this, and it's not going to make them nutritionally complete, which is completely false. And they're even accusing the people feeding their children vegan diets of being child abusers, and that's just simply false. It's like if you imagine someone who's feeding their kids like constantly like meat and dairy and eggs and stuff, like everything that's pretty much unhealthy, even just like ultra processed stuff like fried chips and like extremely buttery mash, for example, then that's not good. It's literally probably going to kill them at some point, especially if they're having that every day. But even then, it might just catch up in adulthood. And I think there is studies to back this up. Could be wrong. But again, this is no different to what they're doing, and I can make up any fucking story I want because they're doing the same thing. I could literally say that these people who are accusing vegan parents of like submitting their children to like malnutrition, like one thing I can make up about feeding kids like a omnivore diet is it can give them, say, like breast cancer. Like it's not fucking lie, that literally is something you can say and it'll sound accurate. And you can say it's because of the soy that animals ingest, and they essentially cause you to develop man boobs, which I've been a victim of personally. Actually, no joke, I've had man boobs since I was a child. That's besides the point. But soy being fed to animals, which are usually fed, definitely caused it. So that's how easy it is to make a narrative. And it sort of brings up the issues in the next one. Yeah, it sort of is. But I want to talk about the other thing with this. When people are using examples of malnutrition, they bring up the people who fed children a vegan diet instead of anyone else, like vegetarian or even omnivore, or even carnivore for that matter. And this is dangerous because it's going to spread misinformation. Again, I'm going to keep bringing this up, it's important. And that's happening in the chat. People don't seem to look outwards in that sense, they just look inwards and use that as a means to be outraged. But it's similar to how people tackle politics in a sense, and why I think it's dangerous personally. Um, you can't just tunnel vision in on one thing, because that's not going to give you a good conclusion or a good idea of what it will be like and what the reality is. It's just simply dangerous, and it's the same with any sort of evidence that you're looking for. Like anti-vax people commonly do this. They make up some story or try to find a correlation, and then put that out there as complete undeniable evidence of something. And it's not necessarily true. But there's no studies on it, so you can't prove it. The evidence hierarchy always sort of states that you need to have evidence greater than a certain area. Like anecdotes are at the bottom, and then you got sort of like surveys or something, if I'm not mistaken. But there's definitely a hierarchy of it, and at the top you've got a meta-analysis, which is the biggest form of evidence you can get. And also methodologies in these studies are important, because you definitely get ones that are done wrong. Like there's plenty of vegan studies, I think, where people are purposely feeding this control group a diet where there's lacking nutrients and supplements, so people on a vegan diet end up failing. They end up developing issues, and that becomes the evidence, but it's not true because they haven't actually done it properly. They haven't done it how the majority of vegans actually do it and have researched that matter. That's why that would be wrong as well if there is any evidence of it. Yeah, that's pretty much the thing here. And people bring up the malnutrition stuff, but it's like such a minority of things. It sort of reminds me of the various arguments about actually no, it's not actually similar, but I think it can be, depending on how you look at it. It's like when someone murders their baby or something. It's in a minority, and the people who actually don't care about their children will do the most damage. That's as simple as that, and as scary as that as well, because those people do exist. But this isn't restricted to vegans, because there's literally no evidence it is. And if you look at all people who obviously follow that diet, that lifestyle, and you see that they've done the same thing, they've been a majority. Because that's literally how it works. People do unfortunately underfeed their child, whether it's on purpose or not. And that creates issues on top of like excluding things like breast milk, for example. And because there's no balance, children end up developing quite poorly, I think. I could be wrong on that. Again, it's okay to be proven wrong on this. But it's quite harrowing to think about when people literally put forth their own anecdotes as evidence, and even other anecdotes like articles and stuff. And it's just dangerous, because it's just misinformation, and these articles often don't demonstrate any proper evidence. It reminds me of the fucking, what is it, the Mount Everest stuff as well. Like, people seem to think that anyone on a vegan diet who dies on there is like evidence of the vegan diet being bad, even though it's one of the hardest mountains to climb, and people do die there, and people with like existing conditions do end up failing to an extent. It's like no surprise. But sometimes the underlying cause isn't even related to the fucking diet, and that's why again this information is just dangerous. Especially if an article is like trying to say, oh, it was the diet that done this, despite the fact it very obviously said it was a breathing issue, which is one I saw. So that brings up the next point of a dangerous thing that people do in general now, and essentially why I named it this. I named it sort of schooling people on logic. Scapegoats are not evidence, and neither is your masking. And masking the dishonesty, and that's simply because that can never be evidence. You might want to believe a certain narrative that's more favourable to you. That part I understand. What I don't understand is why you have to harm people to do it. Because we all have our preferences and want to believe things, but again, if you're doing it in a way that harms people like this, then you're doing no favours. You're even harming the planet in that sense, people's health. Other people saying vegan diet bad. How much do you actually understand about it? Because I can guarantee you, on average, vegans know more about a vegan diet than you do. Even lifestyle in that sense. And yeah, like people putting forth as evidence is just crazy dangerous. No shit. I just wish people would take careful measures to even look into this and understand what they're arguing about, at the very least. Because I don't think it's really hard to do, especially when the information's like quite accessible at the moment. You've got plenty of resources out there. You've got even like nutritionfacts.org, which in my opinion is probably one of the best sources of sort of study reading and stuff, because it's all compressed into short videos, like 5-6 minutes, 14 minutes at the worst, but it's always pretty good. And you even get like short form videos from various like vegan YouTubers like Mike the Vegan and Danny Shea. They make very interesting videos on veganism and the lifestyle and diet, like anything. And it feels extremely dangerous when people are not taking the precautions to prove themselves wrong as well. But I think this is so dangerous that it is literally a more was it more bankruptcy, because it's that dangerous of a thing. Yeah, you can't be right 100% of the time. That's something you just have to admit. I've had to admit it myself. I've been wrong about things plenty of times in my life. Nobody's perfect, but trying to be perfect is not going to do it really. It's not going to do you justice, it's not going to do anyone else justice. Just try to be as accurate as possible and admit when you're wrong. It's as simple as that. You learn from mistakes, and that's a lot of what life is, unfortunately. If people aren't making mistakes, then I don't know if you could call yourself human anymore. Simple as that. But that's sad reality here. So, yeah, dishonesty, masking, and obviously scapegoating, it's just not going to do any favours. Simple as that. So I hope people take this advice into consideration. It's definitely important to me that I get this out there. Yeah, thanks for listening, and see you on another time.